It's a new week. Happy Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever you're listening to this. It's the starting five with the sleepers. College basketball rage is on. Feast week is here. I love Feast week, Cart. Happy Thanksgiving almost. I mean, a lot to be thankful for in our lives. We were just together this weekend, had a wonderful little Saturday of festivities and beverages and losing football because a kicker can't make a 22-yard kick and our coach can't center the ball. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. And you know what? It's not just Feast Week for me. As a fan of all sports, I think kind of tell me and Greg, we got a little World Cup theme going on today. USA plays their first World Cup game in 8 years today, and we're going to start an MLS striker. So that'll be fun.
You remember, this is how I know the sleepers are getting up there. I remember the last time that they officially did not qualify for the World Cup. I remember like we had just wrapped a podcast that night and we had to talk about it. That was like the very early stages of sleepers. Look how far we've come. Now our country is back in the big event. And yeah, we got some spirit going today. I like it.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be more American than I'm going to be today.
What does that mean?
I mean, not like American, like oppressing black people and stuff like that. Like American, like a Budweiser or something.
Oh, nice.
Like a pure Bud, not a Bud Light, like just a straight up Budweiser, and play some eagle noises on loop in the background on YouTube.
Nice. Yeah, you had me concerned for a moment. I'm trying to get in the spirit of being the most American I can be today with the FBI hat, which is a great segue into our first topic, Carter, because I need the FBI to conduct a thorough investigation of Juwan Howard and his program. I'm sure you will find some dirt there. I'm sure you will find some cutting the corners. He's probably dropping some bags for recruits he's not even getting. But look, the bottom line is this man running my program, not happy with this man running my program right now because Michigan survives against their second MAC opponent of the year. They were down 7 points with 8 minutes to play. Goes to overtime on one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. I'm sure you saw the clip. Full court heave off the backboard. Dude blows a bunny after catching it and then a tip in to send it to OT. I really thought Michigan was going to lose after that happens. I mean, how do you watch that and be like, what are we doing here? But this is the state of this year's Michigan team. Cart. This is the state of Juwan Howard's program. They can't separate from average MAC opponents. Let's make no mistake. Eastern Michigan and Ohio are not going to compete for the MAC. Those are middle of the pack MAC teams. And there was essentially zero distinction between what Michigan is right now and what they are, other than Michigan doesn't have anyone who can score. And those teams do. Michigan does have Hunter Dickinson and those teams don't. And they ended up winning because of that. So I'm sure you're soaking this in. I'm sure you're loving every second of this right now. But talk me off the ledge here because I'm ready to pull a pitchfork out.
Yeah, it's for me is I'm kind of trying to look at what the Juwan discourse is moving forward because, I mean, what year was it when he won the Big Ten title, or at least a regular season? Was that 3 years ago?
That would have been the COVID year, essentially, right?
Yeah. Was it a COVID year? Okay, so it wasn't like 3 or something years ago. But the fact of the matter is, you're bringing in these transfer PGs. They're not working, and at a certain point, you got to kind of take a step back. I feel like, and this is just me putting myself in Juwan's position. I'm not gonna keep touching a stove and get pissed when I get burnt. Like I might just stop touching the stove. So maybe stop getting transfer PGs and rotating them year by year, because it's disappointing that you have Hunter Dickinson for another year, like we have pointed out, and Hunter's been playing to me, like Hunter, All-American level player. I would say that he does have his little disengaged moments, but at the end of the day, like he's a walking, 19-10, and that is what it is. But outside of that, Jet, special offensively, no one on this team can check. I'll tell you that for sure. Anyone in the country can score on this Michigan basketball team. And then on the other end of the floor, you have Hunter, and then the fall off at about that third guy is drastic. Jalen Wellen, not it. Kobe Buffkin, not it. Terrence Williams, a glue guy, would look good as a fourth or fifth guy. If you want him to be your second or third option on nights, it's not going to look good. So, I mean, it's looking pretty bleak, to be honest with you. Especially because it's things like defense. Like I don't know, you guys just miraculously gonna lock in and check? Like maybe, but I don't know if Ohio's able to have their way, if Dwight Wilsons are able to have their way. No disrespect to Dwight Wilson, he's actually a pretty good player, but it's gonna get nasty this year. So I don't know. It's dangerous. I'm like Arizona State, not a good team. They're
No,
not.
no, not at all. And they played harder too. That's the thing. It's like I thought Arizona State really just sort of punked Michigan with both, the barrage of outside shots, but also just like being really aggressive and playing much harder than
Yeah,
Michigan did.
and one more thing before I let you kind of go on there.
Oh no.
Also, the fact that after this Arizona State like blowout,
Yeah.
you have a chance to play a middle of the MAC team at home, get back on track, and they take you to overtime. And honestly, Ohio had them on the ropes. They did not execute down the stretch. I mean, besides that fluky ass, I don't even know what we want to call that last play execute. I don't know. Might be something someone has to put in. That was kind of fire. Just throw it at the hoop and let somebody go get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Izzo's probably jotting his notes on that one after how good he was in the Champions Classic.
It's disappointing that you have a chance to bounce back at home after that getting blown out, and that's what happens. Kind of disappointing.
Yeah, they came out flat, and I don't know what to make of that. The team wasn't ready to play. They weren't motivated. He benched the starters, and look, he's had to do that a couple straight games running, but he benched all 5 starters for like an 8-minute stretch again in this game, essentially 100% due to effort. And I don't know what to make of it anymore. I don't think it's just effort. I don't think it's just defense. I think these are just bad basketball players in a lot of ways. Like, and I give you credit. I think you nailed this last week, and I fought you on it. But Terrence Williams, if he's your 5th option, you're still probably a little annoyed he's your 5th option, but you can live with that. When Terrence Williams is your 3rd option and the only guy out of 5 that you can trust any given night, your team's absolutely screwed. And that's right now, like even including Hunter. Yes, we can trust Hunter's going to produce points and rebounds, but like Terrence Williams is the only guy we can trust to like actually defend every possession and like compete every possession. And that's scary. Kobe Buffkin's a disaster. I came and defended him vehemently last week. And I think he's still doing a lot of really good things on the court. Like you can see it. He can be the secondary guy. They went to him in the late game situation. It didn't work well, but like he's rebounding, he's assisting, he's creating shots for others. The problem is the man absolutely cannot shoot. And a week ago, I was ready to say, oh, they're going to start going in. I think everybody's ready to say they're going to start going in. They're not. Like on his career now at this point, he's 10 for 53, I believe, from 3 in a Michigan uniform. That's 18%. And he's averaging 4 attempts per game right now. And they are wide open. These are not like semi-contested, like shooter threes. These are wide open. They're sagging under and giving you that shot every time. And he's shooting it 4 times a game. He shot it 6 times in the Ohio game, made 1. And I like, you can tell me, like smart Michigan basketball fans can tell me that it's going to start going in. I need to see it. And like you compare that to Cam Chapman, to all the non-shooting Michigan, like Charles Matthews, Xavier Simpson, like none of those guys shot as bad of a clip as Kobe Buffkin is from 3 through a season and 5 games. So I don't know if this is going to turn around. I don't think it is. The other problem is like, I think you could probably survive with 1 guard who can't shoot. You can't survive with 2. And Llewellyn hit 2 threes last night. It was his first 2 threes of the season that he hit, but he's shooting as bad as Kobe is on the year. So I don't know. It just, we heard all offseason that they were going to replace the talented guys who are leaving. They were going to replace Diabate. They were going to replace Houston. They were going to replace Jones with guys who fit better. And I don't understand what that means anymore, because all Hunter needs is shooters around him. That's literally all he needs. Just surround the guy with shooting. Even if your defense is going to be as bad as this defense is, and we need to talk about that in a second, but like just put shooters around him, put 4 shooters on the floor, and your offense will be unstoppable with Hunter Dickinson. And I think they acted like they were doing that this offseason, but you ended up with the worst shooting backcourt in high major basketball. And Terrence Williams still on the floor. So It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. It's not going to fix itself unless Kobe Buffkin and or Jalen Llewellyn start making threes, which if you watch the way they're being defended, teams are just straight up giving them those shots, and they can't make you pay right now. So I don't know if it's a confidence issue. I think it's just a shot issue. I don't think either one of these guys can shoot, and I think the numbers from their careers back it up leading up to this. I don't know, like adjustment-wise, do you just put Joey Baker on the floor more?
I
Maybe
mean,
like can you play
I
him
mean,
30 minutes?
you got to try something at this point.
But that's the problem is there's not even more shootery types off the bench. Like it's Joey Baker and nobody else.
Cheddar
Like
doesn't have a ratchet.
Cheddar, I guess you could really, if you want to be desperate, you could play Cheddar, but that's like
What
going
about
top
Isaiah? What about Isaiah Barnes?
Isaiah Barnes is a mess. Isaiah Barnes literally, and somebody told us this when he was in high school and he committed to Michigan. But he just runs like he's just cardio. He's straight up. He's a low effort guy. He's not talented enough to be a low effort guy, and he's the low effort guy.
Yeah.
So I don't. And Doug, you're right. Doug can't shoot. He's small. I don't know if you knew that. Pretty small. I do think the staff's trying to experiment with more Doug, and I don't know if that's going to become like give him the keys ever. He finally got it for the first time this season. They finally ran him with 4 other starters on the floor, which I've been begging for because he's been a disaster with the full bench unit. He didn't look great with the starters, though. Like that was part of when Ohio opened up a run. So I don't know. I just think this roster has massive issues skill wise. Like Juwan has recruited and assembled a team that is very low on skill. And if you assemble a team that is very low on skill, you have to be good defensively. And it's hard to even understand what they're trying to do defensively right now because every single possession, at least 1 to 2 guys are not on the same page. And I've never seen a defensive team like that except for like the Iowa teams from a couple of years ago. Like they leave guys wide open. They like Jet Howard constantly has to be told what they're doing from somebody else. And I mean, we've been playing drop coverage with Hunter a little bit, but Hunter's not a good defender either. It's just a mess. Like this team to me is broken. And I don't like, I've seen broken teams. I think even with like Michigan State's poor teams the past couple of years, like you've been able to point to what you think will improve. I don't know what that is for this Michigan team other than shooting, like other than Kobe Buffkin and Jalen Llewellyn magically starting to make shots. I have no idea how this team gets better. Like, do you have any idea how this team gets better?
No, to be honest with you, I don't. It's a little bit of a roster. Like, I don't know. I don't want to use the word, not malpractice, but like you have a dominant center who lacks defensive, who's maybe a little bit of defensive liability. And, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is like you have a guy who lacks defensive skills, but is a dominant force offensively. I don't know if you're going to surround him with guys. Why not surround that guy with shooters? And, you go out and you give him Jalen Llewellyn. Like that's.
If they thought they were surrounding him with shooters, then we got bigger problems because like now I'm questioning your evaluation skills. Like if you really thought you were building a better roster for Hunter this offseason.
That's what I'm saying. And then I think you hit the nail on the head. If you're gonna have these offensive like if Kobe Buffkin's gonna be on the floor, that's the one thing with Doug. At least you got a guy who's gonna try to get after defensively for his size and stature. He is a guy who's gonna get up in your jersey and cause chaos. There's no reason why Kobe Buffkin shouldn't be a good defender. Absolutely zero reason. I think he might just stink. As a defender.
I think he's been okay as a defender. Like,
well, yeah. I mean,
I don't think
compared to Jet's been awful.
Right. I don't think Kobe's defense has been contributing to the defensive issues as a whole for the most part. I think he's part of the problem because it's a team-wide problem, but I think he's other than I guess T. Will, like he essentially has been the only guy I don't doubt defensively right now. He has some length, like he uses his wingspan and I was going to say foot speed, but he has none of that. But he gets some deflections. He creates some chaos a little bit. I don't know. Can we do Hunter real quick and then we can move on to a much more likable team because Hunter Dickinson is the most unlikable player in my Michigan lifetime. And I don't care if Michigan fans blast me for this. I think if you put that man in any uniform in the country, we're all talking about how much we hate him. And I don't know, Hunter's very online. Maybe someone will clip this and send it to him and he'll take it personally and he'll go on a rampage or something. I don't know. But look, this man, we called him what he was last year. We said if he's the best player on the team, it's going to be problematic because he's not a leader. He's at media day, like just shitting on everybody, making enemies, and acting like he runs this league. And last year's team was horrible. It was horrible with Hunter as the best player. It was horrible with Hunter as the leader. And he had two NBA guys next to him and two fifth-year seniors in the backcourt. And if you heard Hunter at all, at any point last season, you could see him in the press conference shitting on his teammates. That's all he did. And, when things go well, he'll point to his nuts and he'll yell at you and he'll let you know he's there. When things go poorly, he'll tuck his tail in between his legs and hide from Kofi Coburn for their 7th consecutive loss in his career. So this year, Hunter gets to pick his team. Hunter essentially got to pick his teammates. He didn't get Terrence Shannon, but everything, like Frankie Collins isn't on this roster because of Hunter Dickinson. And where are the early returns so far, Cart? Like he's dancing. He's doing his dance. When he hits a little hook shot to cut Ohio's lead to 1 with 2 minutes left in the first half, he'll let you know that he's big dick, right? So I'm totally done with this dude. I think he's a horrendous leader. And I think, I don't know, people can say like, he's got to get himself going. That's just who he is. Okay, then I'll criticize who he is. Like, who he is the most unlikable basketball player in the country. And this team's doomed. This team's absolutely doomed. And we can say, oh, they wasted a couple years of Hunter Dickinson. Well, I think the narrative on Hunter Dickinson is what it is at this point. He's not necessarily a guy who can carry a team to anything successful as he is, just the way he's wired. And that's frustrating. It makes for, like, at the very least, if your team's going to be bad, and I think you know this, no offense, but you know this from the last few years, if your team's going to be bad, you want them to at least be likable. And any team with Hunter Dickinson at its core is never going to be a likable basketball team. And that sucks.
Yeah. And to take a little quick sleeper's victory lap, that's literally exactly what we said. We knew Hunter was going to get his numbers coming into this year, but the step he needed to take was that he's an older guy, he's a junior. He's been eventually some little bit of kind of maturity and taking steps as a leader need to take place being an older guy. And he hasn't really taken those steps. All he did was get a podcast.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear his prediction on what Michigan will beat their next opponent by. I'm sure you saw that. He predicted they'd beat Arizona State by 20. They lost by 25. I don't know. What did he predict they'd beat Ohio by? Did you hear that? Did he come out?
I must have missed that episode, but I know he didn't predict to win by 5.
Well, we'll have to tune in to the next episode of the Round Ball podcast with Marty Mush to see what Hunter Dickinson thinks of this team. Let's move to a much more likable basketball team because I can't do this anymore. Michigan State, Villanova. We were there. I'll tell you this: the Brez was rocking, and I've been at a lot of games at the Breslin Center. I grew up in Lansing, probably around 40, 50 of them, honestly. And this reminded me of really back to like the mid 2000s era when like you had Shannon Brown in that gym, or like you had some dudes that were just dudes, like a really talented team, and the whole state, the whole city knew about it, and you knew what you were going to get with Michigan State. That hasn't been there the last couple of years. And I know that's no shot at the fans, no shot at anybody, but just there's been a little more of a flat energy to the Breslin Center unless they're playing the rival. And this thing was popping. I mean, you were there. The environment was crazy. We could both sense it. And this team is really good. Like, I mean, they opened up essentially a 15-point lead against Villanova that they were coasting with for much of that game. It got dicey at the end, and we'll talk about that. But, man, you come out of this week with 2 wins against Kentucky and Villanova. You got to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I always point back to looking back of where I thought we would be when we were talking about this team preseason. And if you would have told me we were at this point, I would be absolutely ecstatic. So, I mean, it was a great win. It got dicey at the end for a reason we just couldn't even really put our finger on. I mean, we were watching the game and kind of not looking at the scoreboard as much at certain points of the game. And I remember you looking over to me and you're like, man, it really feels like State's been up 20 this whole game. And then all of a sudden, like, it just went down to 12 and then it went down to 7. And you're just like, oh, shit, that's kind of tough. But I think that Tyson Walker just hold a completely different player this year, and I mean it's like night and day. It is crazy. Tyson Walker is a bucket, like a real
Killer.
bucket. Like everything we looked at when he came out of Northeastern, we're like, oh, he's putting up buckets and like he's going into Chapel Hill and giving North Carolina 30. Like that guy's here, and he's perfect.
I can't believe that we've come to this, but he is. It's insane. I mean, I killed Tyson so much last year, and I think I was accurate in killing Tyson. Like, I hope at the very least, like through these 2 weeks, I hope at the very least that both sides of our listeners from the state of Michigan can at least step back and be like, oh, Greg's not just a biased asshole anymore. Because like Tyson Walker's incredible. And I wasn't just hating on him to hate him last year. Like he was really horrible and he was a liability and he wouldn't shoot the ball last year. And I broke film down on him. Like I saw signs of this in the Northeastern version of him, which is why I was so frustrated with how he played at Michigan State. And I can't believe he turned it around. I give Izzo credit for it because I think it's a lot of it's role stuff with him. Like I think he's just comfortable really playing that full off ball role now and covering point guard when he has to, but he goes out and gets to be the offensive hunter for this team. And that's awesome. But that it applies to everybody along the roster, right? Like I think you're getting the best version of everyone right now, except for AJ Hogard. And that'll come. I think I'm not overly concerned about it. He was on
he did hit some threes Friday night, which was nice to see.
He hit a lot of threes. He was on the floor in crunch time too, which was notable to me because he'd been benched in the crunch times of the first two. So I thought Hogard was fine. I still don't think we're seeing the best version of him, but maybe we'll get there. Hauser's obviously been great. Hall, other than turnovers, has been great to me. The team just like knows who they are and is who they are. And one other thing, I told my parents this yesterday, and they were probably like, "We don't care. Why are you telling me this?" But so I don't think in person I've ever seen a team with this type of chemistry. And I think I've seen a lot of teams with just like great chemistry. So I got to be careful how I word this, but I don't think I've seen a team so clearly playing for each other and or playing for their coach as this one. And I say that because at the Champions Classic, like when they won that game against Kentucky, like just the way they celebrated was like it was like for Izzo. Like they almost like mobbed this guy on the sidelines. And then you got the interview with Mahdi and everybody's behind him. And like, the skeptic in me would be like, oh, who's telling them to do that? Nobody's telling this team to do this. They're not telling this team to be disconnected. They just are disconnected. And I've spent the whole week like not getting that image out of my head and trying to figure out what it is. And I really think this team is coming from a place where they had to listen to people like us and actual media members and their own fan base essentially beg for guys to come replace them. Every single guy on this roster has heard a Michigan State fan complain and say they're not good enough for 2 years. And they've been right for the most part. And Izzo could have very easily gone out and gotten replacements. We wanted him to, but he didn't. And he said, I know better than you, and I'm going to do this my way, and I'm going to get the most out of this team. And you don't know what they're capable of. And for that team, like for that decision to be made, number one, give credit to Izzo. He's an insane person, but give credit to him. And two, for them to then immediately experience success at the highest level on the biggest stage against a blue blood program in Kentucky, like that has to be one, so rewarding, but two, like, oh, like you saw it in us and thank you for giving us this opportunity. Like that's how this team acts with each other and with Izzo. And it's just like, it's special to see, number one. You compare it to Michigan, where I'm saying they're the most unlikable team I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like it's so hard to not love what you get out of this Michigan State team because they play like they're underdogs and they play like nobody believed in them because they were. And now they're looking like a top 10 team in the country. It's just special. And I give Izzo credit and I give everybody on the team credit because it's really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, and we talked about it coming into the year. We said that, after a summer of basically complaining. I mean, that's really what it was. It was across fan base complaining. We said, you know what, let's look at the positives of what the season could be. And we said this could possibly be Coach Izzo's best coaching job of his career if he makes this team work. And up until this point, he's making it work better than I think a couple people could have imagined. And I know certainly I could have imagined. So credit to him for doing so. And we're like you said, I still think there's more we can get from some guys. I still think there's more we can get from AJ Hogard. I think we might want to touch on the center position a little bit because it's time for everybody to come up from here. It's right back down to ground level earth just a wee bit, because on Friday night when me and Greg went to the game, me and him both had 2 less points and 2 less rebounds than the center position combined.
We actually had 1 less point in the center
Oh,
position.
sorry.
Yeah. It's all right. 1.3 rebounds was the 40 minutes that Michigan State got from Mady Sissoko plus Jackson Kohler plus Carson Cooper. Let's do in-depth thoughts on Unscripted this week, which is the podcast we do with the Field of 68. That'll come out. I'm sure we'll do one before the feast week kicks off or before whatever the Phil Knight kicks off. So center was really, really bad. Let's touch on that in depth there. But yeah, I think people crowned Mady Sissoko very prematurely after he did well against Kentucky's backup centers in double overtime.
Eric Dixon fucking cooked that man.
Yeah. Like, had man looking like a Thanksgiving turkey cart.
Right, and respect to Eric Dixon, but at the same time, come on now. It's Eric Dixon.
Yeah. I mean, he looked like National Player of the Year, Eric Dixon there. So.
Yeah.
We'll see. But they won. They won. Did get dicey, though. The fact that was dicey. I have some end game questions and I have some center questions. We'll do those on Unscripted. Listen to us there. All in all, just to wrap up the Michigan State section, scale of 1 to 100. What's your happiness meter with Michigan State basketball right now?
I'm not gonna lie. It's 100.
You got the max, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling great.
Oh man, who would have thought it would swing like this? Like from where we were preseason to me being so down and you being so up. You deserve this after the last few years.
I mean, I was making charts, man.
You were making charts. I'm about a week away from a chart at this point. Let's go to Illinois. Hello, Illinois fans. Good to see you again. Love your basketball team this year. They just came off.
Great to see the shirts, by the way.
Oh yeah, shout out the Daddy Brad wearer. We had a Daddy Brad wearer in Vegas. Jeff Goodman was out there, and apparently he said Illinois fans were in droves and they just owned that entire event. That's awesome. Brad's got this program humming, and it's here to stay. That's cool. Here's the thing. Illinois' team still has some questions right now. And as good as I think they've looked, because I think through however many games they played, 5 games, I think you'd give them an A. Like a lot of the concerns preseason have been answered. I think the biggest concerns are why they struggled down the stretch against Virginia to me. Now, Virginia defense caveat here, put a big star next to it. Of course, teams are going to struggle against the Virginia defense. So many of these concerns may not even apply against normal defenses. That's fine. But against the best defenses in the country, those are the type of teams you got to beat and have answers for in the NCAA tournament, which is a place we know Brad Underwood's program has struggled. They don't really still have clear answers on whose hands the ball are in. Ball is in, ball are in. I don't know. You take over from here. Like, what happened in the end game of that Illinois-Virginia game to you?
Yeah, to me, it just kind of looked like a team that didn't necessarily – I mean, I think we talked about it on the last episode. Like, this team is talented. The talent's clear. Dane Danger's way better than I thought. That guy's a monster. I love the freshman. I thought that Epps had himself a breakout game yesterday. And it gave Brad a little bit of flexibility because you saw that he was going more towards Jaden going down the stretch than Sky in this game just because Jaden had it. But with that said, it kind of got to a point where towards the end of the game, there's a 13-0 run. And to me, what they did is they said, okay, Jaden Epps is the guy who has it today. Let's go to him down the stretch. Where I don't know if that's necessarily the way you want to do it, because when you have a go-to guy and you have a guy that you want the ball to have his hands in down the stretch, it doesn't necessarily matter to me, or at least, and I might be wrong on this. You can say I am if you want to, but the go-to guy, no matter what he's doing in that game, and it's the last 2 minutes or it's a big run happening, I think that guy needs to have the ball because he's your go-to guy. Like, I don't want to stretch it out, but If LeBron James is having a shitty game, you're still going to give it to LeBron James down the stretch. If any star is having a shitty game, you're still going to give that guy an opportunity in the last 2 minutes of the game. So, I think it's just a learning experience for them. I mean, they had this game to me. I mean, credit to Virginia for all they did, but I mean, they gave a 13-0 run to let Virginia back in this game because they couldn't get a bucket. So I don't know. I just think some execution things, some things they need to clean up. But Virginia's a good basketball team, so credit to them. And I hate saying that.
Yeah, I don't think there's many teams or programs in the country we like less than Virginia. I don't really know why that is
but I do want to say shout out to Virginia because it was cool with the tragedy that happened last week that they were able to come into this tournament and they honored the players that were shot and killed. So that was pretty cool to see because they beat two really good basketball teams and were able to win a championship. So a good thing for them in the school after the tragedy that happened. So that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it was very cool. I mean, it was special. Yeah, I don't think there's more basketball teams or programs we dislike than Virginia, and I don't really know why that is. Michigan State has their NCAA tournament history with Virginia, but MSU all pretty much owns them in March, and I just don't like watching the way they play basketball. I respect their good teams, like the Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome era was a very good basketball team, but I don't know. It's not fun to watch them succeed to me. What is special I can step back and respect is Tony Bennett. I mean, he's got to be in the running for best coach in the sport at this point. Like,
oh yeah, he's top 5 coaches you don't want to see on the other side, like on the other sideline.
He's also, I know he's graying, but with Jay Wright vacating, he's definitely my leader in the clubhouse for handsome coach. I just like kind of some George Clooney effect with him, but yeah, I think this was Tom Izzo falls in this too. It was a really good week for program coaches who have been doubted over the last year and reminding you, oh shit, I can do this with my guys and I'm going to do it my way. Like this Virginia team is not different than last year's Virginia team. They just added Ben Vanderplas off the bench and all of a sudden they look like a top 5 team in the country. Credit to Tony Bennett entirely for that. Great coach. But back to the Illinois side of things, I think I love this team. I just want to say that. Like, I think I'm convinced, even in the Virginia loss, I'm convinced this is the best team in the Big Ten. I think they're significantly better than Indiana. I think Michigan State's right there. I would bet on Illinois' ceiling being higher by the time we get to the NCAA tournament. But I think Michigan State's right there. Probably 1A, 1B. But
Illinois is certainly the most talented to me, too.
Yeah. And Terrence Shannon is great. He was going to be our Field of 68 player of the week this week, a little behind the scenes until he had 6 turnovers and shriveled down the stretch of this Virginia game. So I think, look, he's not going to shoot 8 for 9 from 3 again this season. I'm sorry. I'll just say it. He's not. That was an aberration that was incredible. Give him credit, but he's not doing that again. What I'm worried about is he probably will have another 6 turnover game. And I think that like the bad version of what we saw is probably like more likely to happen again with him. He's still great. I'm not seeing the National Player of the Year stuff the announcers are with him. I think you should hope for like a first team all Big Ten season, and then you'd be ecstatic if you got that from Terrence Shannon. I thought Coleman was really good. I thought Coleman Hawkins like really looks the part with them. Like they don't really have that go-to guy, but if there was one, I think it's Coleman. Like the ball finds his hands more often than anybody else's, and it ends up going in a good spot, whether that's him like helping get somebody else open or just making the right swing pass or creating a shot for himself. Like I like what happens for Illinois' offense when the ball is in Coleman Hawkins' hands. I thought Skies looked pretty damn good. Epps had really good numbers in this game, but like, Sky essentially toe-to-toe with Tiger Campbell, and I thought he held his own in that game. So, like, the dudes for Illinois are not a question. The question is Underwood going to pull the right strings? And the answer was no in this Virginia game. I mean, Sky was on the bench down the stretch. I don't think Coleman Hawkins got a touch down the stretch. Terrence Shannon was clearly visibly rattled. Like he had 1 turnover and he let that compound into 2 or 3 bad plays in a row and started pressing. And then the 2 guys who were getting the touches were Dane and Epps. And I think there were 4 possessions in a row. They ended up essentially just getting an isolation, whether it was a post touch or Epps from the top ISOing, and they didn't score any of those 4. And that seemed crazy that Brad let that happen in real time. You could feel the game slipping. I hope it's an aberration, but I'm a little concerned because, like, when that's happening in real time, you're just like, well, who should have the ball? And you don't have a clear answer. And if it's Terrence Shannon, like I said, I think you're going to run into some turnover problems. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
And if I'm picking guys on Illinois' team to have the ball when they need a bucket or things aren't going well, like for all the good that Jaden Epps does and is going to be, I think, as an Illinois player, he's not top 3 on that list.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. So,
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Long way to go. This team's far from what the best version of it will be. And the fact that it's so early in the season and they just went to a neutral court and played with Virginia and UCLA the way they did, that's very impressive. Like, I don't think there's many teams in the Big Ten who could have done that. But yeah, I think those questions about who is the key guy, who can you trust in a late game situation, still linger to me. And I think I tweeted it. Like, it's great on paper to say you don't need a go-to guy. You got 11 dudes who can fill it up. But when you're in a tie game with 4 minutes left against a top 5 team in the country, you'd rather have the go-to guy. And we hope Terrence Shannon can become that. Maybe Coleman is that. Maybe Sky is that. I really like Sky still. So we'll see. But I think they need to start inching closer to figuring that out. They're also getting essentially nothing from Matthew Meyer. I don't really think that's going to change.
Yeah, I really don't think Matthew Meyer likes basketball.
I don't either. I think he's just, it's hard to call a guy from Baylor a losing player, but he
turned into one. He wasn't one, and he's kind of like morphed into one.
He's got to be your like 15-minute off the bench guy. And I think Brad's smart enough to figure that out, I think. But yeah, I'm not loving what I'm seeing from Matthew Meyer right now. Also, RJ Melendez is just kind of out there. He made some shots this last game, but I think when I look at this roster, if there are going to be any like puzzle pieces shifting, I think it's Melendez and Meyer who, maybe we're not getting anything out of you guys. Maybe you guys go to the bench.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little more Ty Rodgers.
I could see that. That might be our Michigan bias talking, though.
Well, I just look at it this way: like you have a player like Meyer, that just kind of is doing losing things right now, and I think Ty Rodgers is a guy who makes winning plays.
I like that. All right, fast forward. Let's wrap Illinois with this. Fast forward to March. It's the round of 32, and Illinois is down 1 point to a feisty 7 seed.
Wait, Illinois is there?
The round of 32, yeah.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah, come on. What 5 players are on the court?
And who are they playing?
Feisty 7 seed. Illinois got a 2 seed. They won the Big Ten. Yada, yada, yada. Trent Frazier's holding up loose leaf champion crowns. And let's say they're playing like, I don't know, who's a decent mid-major right now? Murray State?
Yeah, sure. Let's just say that. Let's just go with it.
They're playing a 7-seeded. They're playing a 10-seeded Murray State who upset a 7 seed to get here. Who's on the floor? They're down. Illinois down 1 with 4 minutes left, coming out of the under 4. Who's on the court?
Okay, I'm going Sky Shannon. Ooh, Sky Shannon.
Is Goody healthy, by the way? Are we counting that or no?
If he is, he's going to be. Let's say he is.
Okay, Goody's healthy.
Okay, so Sky, Goody, Shannon, Ty Rodgers, Coleman.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to go Sky, Epps, Shannon, Coleman, Danger.
I mean, those are both 2 good lines. I can't
That's
get mad
good
at that.
lineups. Yeah, it scares me a little that your lineup includes one guy we haven't seen yet, because I think that feels like you're like longing for something that isn't there with this team.
Is that so bad?
I don't know.
To long and to hold.
You tell us, Illinois fans. Hop in the comments. Get yourself a Daddy Brad. Those things are selling like crazy, by the way. Still popping off. We got hoodies now. It's cold in Champaign. Go get yourself a hoodie. Field68.shop.
What did Fritz Hagerman say? Is it so bad to want?
Fritz Hagerman. It's a deep cut for any Illinois fans out there. All right. By the way, we're gonna be in Champaign. I don't know if they saw this or not, but the Big Ten to go travel series is coming to an arena near you this Big Ten season. Carter and I will be on the road. We're going to almost every Big Ten arena. We're going to see Illinois a couple times this year, but we will be there in person for Michigan State, Illinois on a Friday night. And I think we're planning to stay there and do some stuff Saturday as well. So would love to meet any Illinois fans. Shout out to Coy, by the way. He's an Illinois fan. He came by the Field of 68 live show at the Champions Classic. So we'd love to meet all y'all. Mark your calendars. I don't remember when that game is, but Michigan State, Illinois, sleepers are attending. Stay tuned. Little 10, Cart. We called it the Little 10 preseason. We said the Big Ten was going to be horrible. We can't call it big anymore. It's little. Big Ten looks pretty good. Maybe not so little. Are we keeping the little 10? Is it medium 10? Schmedium 10 now? What do we got?
It might be schmedium 10. It might be schmedium 10 because I think teams like Penn State are a lot better than people had thought. Obviously, Iowa's look good. Purdue's look good. Michigan State, Michigan's letting us down. If Michigan could hold up their end of the deal, we might have been able to bump this to medium Big Ten. But just like their own team, they're letting the conference down as well. So they had that to put on their notch on their belt. But yeah, definitely better. Definitely better. So we'll go schmedium Big Ten. Schmedium 10, sorry. Schmedium Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with schmedium 10 right now. It's Michigan, right? That's the issue. That's the issue with the conference right now is that one of the three teams you thought was going to be like a potential actual national contender is absolutely not that. They're horrible. So I think Illinois is holding up their deal. Indiana's holding up their deal. Michigan State has essentially replaced what we thought Michigan would be. And I think, the middle of the pack teams look pretty good to me right now. If you're going down the list, like I think Iowa's good. I think Purdue's good. I think Penn State's a team we need to talk about. I think Penn State might be a top 5, top 6 team in this conference.
Hey, can I take a victory lap for you?
Yeah.
Jalen Pickett is fucking him. And you've been screaming about it this whole summer when people are talking about guards and Big Ten and all that, and no one wanted to pay attention. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. I probably should have carried his torch more than I carried Boo Booey's, but yeah, I mean, surprise, surprise, Cart. When you've got guards who average like 14, 5, and 5, they're actually good basketball players, even if they're on bad teams. Penn State did what Michigan wanted to do. Like they just went out and got snipers and just said, hey, we're going to put the ball in Jalen Pickett's hands every possession and surround him with shooters. And they're really fun to watch. Like I actually have enjoyed watching this Penn State team more than any other team in the conference other than Michigan State. And I think that's here to stay. Like I don't know how much they're going to win once they get to conference play, but the way they play basketball is very, very fun. It's a lot of threes. It's a lot of like extra swing passes. Jalen Pickett's pretty unguardable. They keep posting him up and you got to send 2 to him when he's got a point guard on him. So I think they're for real. I think there's probably 8 or 9 teams that can make the tournament this year, which feels like a good spot for the Big Ten. And I still don't know that any of them are going to make a March run except for Michigan State, though. That's what scares me.
Ooh. Really?
You like the sound of that?
I that's not something when I queued up this webcam and mic setup, I expected to hear.
Yeah, I just still think Indiana can't shoot. I know they survived against Xavier, but I'm not the biggest Xavier guy. I think they can't shoot. They're not going to win in March if they can't shoot. Illinois, I love, but until I see Brad get to the Sweet 16, I'm not predicting a team with no go-to guy to make the Sweet 16. So that leaves Michigan State. And I don't know how far that run will go, but
so are you putting down your Hawkeye love?
I mean, it's Fran in March. Like you gotta love. I promised myself after last year I would never talk myself into an Iowa team in the NCAA tournament again. I'll talk myself into this Iowa team to win the Big Ten. Still, I think Chris is awesome. And this past week we finally had oh my God, Chris is kind of Keegan. Like no shit, you idiots. We've been yelling it all offseason. So I love them. And again, until they get to March. Like who can you trust in this conference in March? Nobody except for Tom Izzo, right? Like, and maybe Juwan Howard, if Juwan's team limps in, then pencil him in for a Sweet 16. But they got to limp in first.
And I don't see him limping in at this point.
I don't know. I mean, 4-1, but yikes. Do you want to address the elephant in the room for you, Cart, and your Big Ten preseason takes?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Is it time? I think it's time to call it quits on your preseason takes.
All right, man. I'm sorry. I believed in Paul more than he believed in himself, I guess. But he's been hurt. He's been hurt.
He has been hurt. He didn't play in Rutgers' most recent loss to Temple.
Exactly. He didn't play. So wait till he comes. Give me till Big Ten play. Wait till Paul gets there. You will see.
He did play in their most recent win, an 8-point win against UMass Lowell, in which Paul Mulcahy on the season is averaging 4 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists on 35% from the field in 20 minutes a game.
That's what happens when you have a lingering injury. Good day shutting it down, getting healthy. Can't wait for you to come back strong, Paul.
If they could actually get Paul, and they got to get McConnell on the court, but their other dudes have stepped up, like Amaruyi and Spencer and Hyatt.
Can I stand strong on my Rutgers take?
I mean, I don't know. That Temple loss is not great.
We don't have your best player.
Didn't have Mulcahy and didn't have McConnell, but the other 3 have been playing pretty well, and Temple's not good. I don't know. I think you can stand by it, but they gotta turn around. They gotta get healthy quick.
Who's better, Rutgers or Michigan?
Oh,
Michigan is still 4-1.
Michigan could easily be 2-3, but they are still 4-1. I mean, I think it's Michigan. But only because of Hunter, and I hate watching them. I hate watching them so much. It sucks.
There's nothing worse than not enjoying watching your basketball team.
Oh,
it ranks just below not centering the ball for a game-winning 20-yard field goal as far as things that annoy me.
Can't wait to see Michigan play Jackson State on Wednesday night. That'll be fun. Great segue into our final topic today, Cart. Is anyone good? Yes. This has been a take of mine for about a week now. I ran it by Kevin Sweeney at the Champions Classic. I've been waiting to when do we really unveil this? We kind of got into it last week, but we skated by it pretty quickly. I'm officially ready to unveil this. I don't think anybody in the country is good. And that's oversimplifying it. Obviously, there are good basketball teams. You can, hey, put the guns down, Kansas fans. I'm not saying every player on your team is bad, okay? I'm just saying I don't think there's a great team in college basketball this year. And I think the best teams in college basketball this year in any given normal year would be closer to 8th to 10th in the country. I think the best team in the country right now is Houston. And I know a lot of people came away from last night's game feeling pretty impressed with who the Houston Cougars are. I did not. I saw a team that let a really bad Oregon team hang around in that game. They ultimately did cover. They won by 10 points. That was from a 6-0 run in the final 30 seconds of the game. And look, Houston shot the ball well. I like their roster on paper. I just think in a normal year, this Houston team is a fringe top 5, 6th, 7th best team in the country. And this year we have to act like they're clearly the best team in college basketball because Kentucky's not normal Kentucky. Kansas isn't normal Kansas. Duke isn't normal Duke. Gonzaga isn't normal Gonzaga. So we're left grasping for what teams are great. Baylor is the other team I think you could put in contention. Obviously, they lost to Virginia. I like their bounce back against UCLA. That backcourt's nasty. Baylor's probably my pick to win it all if I had to have a gun against my head right now. But even this Baylor team, I think, is worse than the last 3 years of Baylor teams from what we've seen.
Yeah, so, the last 3 years of Baylor's teams are absolutely disgusting.
Right. You're right.
So this Baylor team can still be disgusting, just not absolutely disgusting.
This Baylor team is very good. They're just not great. And I guess the question isn't, is anyone good? The question is anyone great in college basketball?
To me, I'm still Houston, Baylor.
Are great?
Yes. Houston is definitely a great team. Why? They have all the same greatness of defensive intensity and play and rebounding. And then you add in Marcus Sasser to that. Arsenault is a fire-ass freshman. Tremont Mark is nasty. I don't want to pronounce it. It's Jerace? I think.
Gerace.
Yeah, Jerace Walker, monster. Like this team is really, really good. Cheney's been playing basketball since the Bush administration. Like this team is actually really, really good.
What makes them, I guess you kind of just answered that, but like what makes this version of Houston better than the last three versions of Houston?
Marcus Sasser.
They had Sasser a couple years ago.
Didn't have Sasser last year.
It was a good, not great team.
That didn't that you bring up this point, but that team that you're mentioning 2 years ago went to the Final Four. Am I not correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were, and I think they were the weakest team in that Final Four. They were good. Like good teams can go to the Final Four all the time.
Well, that Final Four was disgusting.
A Final Four doesn't qualify you as a great team.
I'm saying that Final Four was nasty.
Like UNC went to the Final Four last year. Were they a great team? Are
In the
they a great
tournament.
team this year? They're supposed to be the best team in the country this year.
Okay, but what I'm saying is this team compared to that Houston team from 2 years ago, I think is more talented.
Is better. Why though? Because of Walker?
Because Walker, Mark, Arsenault.
Yeah, like their guards to me are their guards. They're always great. Like they had Quentin Grimes that year. Quentin Grimes was awesome that year.
Yeah, he was. I thought that Quentin Grimes was awesome that year, but I think the whole team, the team as a whole, lacked a little bit more than what they have now. I think they got more guys now.
I mean, I guess I can buy it with the front court. Like they have a talented center.
And also this year's version of Marcus Sasser
is the best.
Is going to be not only the best version of him, but it's going to be better than what Quentin Grimes was.
Okay. Jury's out. Sasser's not shooting the ball great this year.
And then Baylor quickly, like that backcourt is absolutely disgusting. I will never ever sell my Baylor stock at any point this year. I don't care if they lose every game in the Big 12. They'll find a way to get into the tournament, and you do not want to see Flagler, Cryer, and Keontae George.
Flagler's a bad man. He's a lot.
It kind of pisses me off, though. I know he didn't play well yesterday, but like, I'd rather go to Keontae George down the stretch than a guy named Dale Bonner.
So I agree in general. I'm a very big Keontae George stan. Baylor's my favorite team in the country this year, but I didn't hate going away from him because one, it just meant you were force feeding Flagler more, and Flagler was cooking, and two, I think that speaks to who this Baylor program is, that like you can bench one of your three guards and you feel totally comfortable just having your bench guard there too. Bonner's not yet what those three are, but like if a year from now Bonner steps in and is playing the Flagler role, would I be surprised? Like, no, not really. So it kind of reminds me of Flagler a couple of years ago, honestly, when they had the trio and Flagler was sort of just like the fourth guy. So I don't know. I love Baylor. I still don't think they're great though. Like I think this is the weakest Baylor of the Baylors we've seen in 3 years, which is where this whole take is rooted from, Cart. I don't think there's any team in the country that you can point to and says that's the best version of them in like a while. And I don't know. It just bugs me. It just bugs me.
I think you can do that with Houston.
Okay. That's probably the only one, right? Which is probably why people are starting to say they're the consensus number one team. But man, that they let Oregon hang around. Oregon isn't a great basketball team, are they? Like, lost to UC Irvine a couple weeks ago.
Playing at home, they still covered. Marcus Sasser played absolutely god awful, and they still won, so that was good to see.
Oregon lost to UC Irvine at home by more than they lost to Houston.
Hey, the Fighting Anteaters or Antelopes, whatever they are,
they'll get you. All right, you got anything last minute for the people here?
My team's good. Go USA. Enjoy the World Cup. Make sure you watch. If you, I know it's a basketball podcast, but if you don't watch soccer, this is a great time to start watching it. It's fun. That's all I can say, really.
And on that note, goodbye, Cart.
Goodbye, Greg.